than here at home because yeah, I don't know. There's a lot more work in other places of the country in terms of engineering. So that's my main reason of for heading out.
You said you were looking at robotics stuff.
Yeah, well, mainly because it's more popular over in Pittsburgh, and it's not as it's very like a lot of aspects of engineering you can kind of pull it all in. It all relates to each other, like knowing material science and dynamics, all those things, opposed to at my old job where I was in benchmarking. You might focus more on like DFMA or essentially cost reducing, like the uh, assembly and manufacturing process of some of the components and stuff like that. Uh, the robotics kind of industry, from what I have a lot of friends who've actually worked in it, and from what they described, is just the companies are typically a little bit smaller, so it kind of fits to kind of the dynamic that I felt when I was in the RIT Baja Club over at RIT, and it's a little and the culture there where it's a little tightly knit. You do more as an individual, where opposed to larger companies, you tend to you'll have a specific thing that you do, and that's kind of what you stick to. You can still kind of branch out and get involved in other things, but in a smaller place, I feel like you might have a larger opportunity to play a larger role beyond what what your job responsibilities technically are on a sheet of paper. You can branch off a little bit more beyond that.
So where do you? I know it's it's always hard for people our age to think about. Where do you see yourself in like more long term, like 5 to 10 years, say? Where do you see yourself going?
So 5 years. I currently have a girlfriend that I've been with for a very long time, 6 years now. So I was, yeah,
Junior year of high school. I remember the day, dude.
yeah, that was stressful. Yep. So I'm still with Katie, high school sweethearts. Uh, she's going to speech pathology, which is nice because it's a very versatile career. Because with engineering, you can't really just go anywhere. It's like comparing them directly. If you're a speech pathologist, you can do a whole range of things like working at home, or sorry, working like at different people's homes, or starting your own clinic, going to a school, a hospital. Where are you going to go? There's no schools or hospitals. I mean,
Yeah,
they're everywhere,
yeah.
right? But for an engineer, there's so many different things you can do. Like engineer is such a broad term in terms of what you could be doing. It where you are, where company you work for, and where they are is a big factor as to what you'll be doing. So fortunately, I'm going to graduate before she finishes her master's, and that'll give us a great like I'll have a job by then, and we'll be able to figure out where exactly we can start. Maybe not setting up like deep roots, but a good place where we can start saving some money, paying off debts. I don't have a lot of school debt, fortunately, so the plan is for me to kind of sustain us, get a little place. She'll focus on paying off her loans, and then after that, it will be finding, depending on where I am. I tend to at least spend at least like 3 years wherever I'm working, and then, but I mean, who knows? If I really like the place, I might just stay there completely. I'm kind of an all-in kind of guy, so if I can find that option, I'll just take that right off the bat. But worst case scenario, if I'm not in love with what I'm doing, or I feel like I can earn a little bit more money, I might go to another place and uh, see what they offer, see if there's any better opportunities. And if we don't like where we are, we can. That's also another option too.
What are your thoughts on like switching jobs? Like if you determine that like this job isn't for me, do you believe in sticking it out, or would you say that it's better to just leave and go find something else?
So what I can speak for is only to my career. Uh, I can't talk about the other ones. I'm obviously no expert, But I would say in my particular case, um, it's kind of a double-edged sword because so obviously companies don't want you to leave if you've been working there, but uh, if you want an increase in pay, if you want large increases, the only way is to leave and go somewhere else where they'll offer you a higher amount of salary. And this can get a little sketchy sometimes because if work finds out that you're trying to find our job, sometimes they'll have a policy where you're you know they have to fire you or something like that. So, but at the same time, people on LinkedIn are constantly always trying to find people who are willing to switch and do this and that. Because especially when companies are starting a new company or a new branch or something
Mhm.
like that, they just throw money at it. So if they just find someone with the right qualifications, they're willing to pay a little bit more than what you're already being paid at some other places. And so it's kind of a touchy subject because some people they get good deals where they stay at a job for a while and they'll get salary raises and patents are really big for engineering. If you get patents, sometimes you'll get bonuses correlating with that, and you'll get increases in salary for that. So what you contribute to the company itself can also mean that you have an increased income. But uh, ultimately, in today's age, with things like LinkedIn and just the dynamics of everything, today having a job for 40 years really isn't the case because there's no pensions anymore and stuff like that. Without a big reason for people to stay, other than unless you really like the job and where you are. I think location is the biggest thing that keeps people where they are. But honestly, if you're looking for income, switching jobs in after you build a bit of experience is the one way to do that.
What would you say, in your opinion, is like the I don't know the I don't know if way off is the correct phrase, but like comparing how happy you are at the job to how much you're making. Like, what do you think? Where do you think the weight lies? Do you think it's more important to be happy at the job, or more important that you're making a good amount of money? Where do you fall on that?
So I haven't had a job where I was like, I hate this, but there have been times where I've been a little more stressed out at some doing working on some projects opposed to the other ones. I think that if you're doing something that stresses you out, obviously a little, some people like the stress, they use as motivating factor.
Yeah.
That's what helps them grow as an individual. But there's always a point where too much stress is just too much, right? And I think it's about the amount you're working. I feel like that heavily correlates how much you enjoy what you do because I know some people that my boss would answer emails up until 6 p.m. and he has like a family with like a 2 hour commute. That's a lot. That's a lot on a person. And I honestly, sometimes I'm the kind of person to say, I want to do a good job. I will do the best job I can do. But when it comes to family and my time at home, I will, as years definitely move forward and I've established my career, I will definitely lean more on personal time,
Hmm.
things like that, sustainability. Uh, Early on, when you're young, I mean, it's great to take chances and it's great to maybe not necessarily like extreme risk chances, but to put a little bit more on your plate and try to learn as much as you can initially. Thinking in terms of that might help people get through some of the hurdles, some of the things they're doing, because you should always try and keep learning, especially when you're really young, like our age. That's something like if I'm looking at a company, I don't want to specialize in something where it's like, oh yeah, we make bottle caps. Like it's kind of a what am I going to learn from that
Yeah.
exactly? Maybe some really cool stuff in plastic injection molding, which there's a lot to learn on that. But you want to go to a place where there's a lot of different specialists and experts where you can pull and learn from their
Mhm.
experiences, things like that. That will be very enriching. So there's a lot to factor, but I would say I would go through if you're really stressed out, that's just going to affect your health, and that's what's really going to affect everything else. So balancing that out with everything else in your life, I'd say is going to be the root to enjoying what you have.
Mhm.
Because I've never been someone who puts a huge value on monetary value. I mean, I have like I love making like little budgeting tools on Excel and like calculating, oh, you know, if I wanted to do this, I put away this money each month, and at the end of the year, I'll be able to like, oh yeah, I can do like this project, or like I can build like this extra shed or something like that in the
Yeah.
future, right? Uh, that stuff's always fun to like look at how much projects will cost, and one of the biggest ways you can improve on those is just improving the amount of salary you have. But putting putting the value on your personal time free at home, that's the biggest thing.
Mhm.
Is understanding that how valuable that is to you is gonna direct you to what is important.
So uh oh what would you say at this time is something you're worried about most in terms of like your future and becoming an adult, quote unquote? What would you say is scariest?
Right now with the coronavirus, getting a decent job right off the bat.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not worried I won't find a job, but it's just delaying everything,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
There's no
as
way
I'm
to
sure
kind of
everybody's experiencing.
yeah, there's no way to like predict when it's gonna be over or anything, so there's nothing really we can do about it.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say that's the only thing right now. Because I kind of lucked out. I don't have like this overbearing debt over my head, fortunately. Um, I have a girlfriend who I've been with for a long time. So in terms of finding someone special to me, that's already checked. Um, and I'm fortunate enough where, despite all this Corona stuff, there are a lot of jobs and there are a lot of opportunities for someone in my major. And the line, it's not like some things where it's like it's who you know. It's pretty much, do you have the qualifications? Do you know what you're talking about? Can you basically say that like, yes, I'm the person for this job? There you go. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm just getting really excited to get to that point.
Yeah.
And then I feel like in terms of handling my money, uh, I'm pretty confident in my ability to do that. I'm pretty disciplined on what I can spend. So I've already made initial investments into my future, like Roth IRAs. I've invested in that since I was like 15. So I'm very excited to continue contributing to things like that. And personally, I really don't need much. You know, that's one good thing about like not living in a basement my whole life is playing video games, is that beyond that, don't really need much. Although I am trying to do, fun things like if I could find a garage, like have initially finding a place where I can have a garage, that's gonna be game changing because I'm really into the idea of having a project car.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of people who've done these kind of things, and I follow like a lot of communities revolved around that. Big projects like that would that would be a big push in that direction for me to do that. I'm kind of a strong believer in you should invest in your career first before um, making big leaps forward in your personal hobbies and things like that.